Wow. Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on the Great Deception here. This was from a presentation I gave in Canada back in August, and talking about let no man deceive you. That's in Matthew 24, and the word there is Strong's 4105 planeo, lead astray, deceive, lead astray, cause to wander, properly to go astray, get off course, to deviate from the correct path, roaming into error, wandering, be misled. It is the root word for our English term planet or wandering body. So, when you look into that, and you got the 4105 planeo, you have plane 4106, same thing, wandering to error. These are just different derivatives of the same word. And planos, again, same thing, mislead, deceive, wandering into error. And so he's talking about wandering stars there. That's planetes or planets. So we're literally saying, when we say planet Earth, we're saying the wandering, deceptive Earth by the definitions of the words.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
And that's just crazy. Then when you look at that passage, we're trying to figure out if that's in 2 Thessalonians 2, 9 through 12, it says, for this reason, because they would rather follow the lawless one and they don't have a love of the truth, for this reason, God will send them a powerful delusion. Again, that's the word plane, 4106, the same derivative. A powerful plane. That's when I talked about a lot of that in my first book, Babylon Rising, so much of the, different characters of history go back to Nimrod and Antichrist being 666, and this is some of the things we were just talking about. This is the Google search I did. The Earth is going at 18.5 miles per second. That's 66,600 curvature. Starting to
That's just coincidence, man. Just
yeah, it's 23.4. That was the number we couldn't think of before. 23.4. I mean, it's like, come on. I mean, at what point do we say, And there's another guy who he's not a flat earther, but he's done some other very interesting work. He believes the globe, but he found that from the coastline of Antarctica to various locations like the obelisk in the Vatican, and to the temple in Jerusalem, and the Washington Monument in Washington D.C. Are 660 or 6,660. I think this is nautical miles, if I remember right. Coincidence? This guy, everybody wants to say he's a Christian because he knew the Bible. Well, I mean, newsflash, Satan knows the Bible too. This guy, you look into him, and he's a Rosicrucian, a Freemason, an alchemist. This guy was seriously into the occult. You look into the Apollo program, and there's supposedly 6 successful missions with 2 men on the surface. Well, isn't it interesting that of all of humanity, only 12 apostles of Apollo are the ones who supposedly stood on another rock besides the Earth, and they had one betrayer, which was Gus Grissom. He was actually supposed to be the first man to step on the moon. He was slotted to be the first man, and he's like, this ain't happening. He's like, we're at least a decade away from this happening. He hung a lemon on the capsule in protest, and he got in trouble for having an unauthorized press conference saying, you know what, this isn't going to work, And he told his wife, if there's ever an accident, it's going to be me, right? Well, he was a betrayer of the program and paid a price for it, and his own son, to this day, maintains that his dad was murdered. And Gus Grissom and Ed White and Roger Chaffee burned alive on the pad on Apollo 1 on the same day that the international community signed the International Space Treaty. So I'm like, well, that seems like it was a treaty signed in blood. 12 apostles, 666, number 13. Only 12 humans allegedly stood on another rock. Out of the Apollo missions, only 18 participated in the alleged moon landings, with 6 mission commanders, 6 command module pilots, 6 lunar lander pilots.
Wow.
Really, And then when you look at Apollo 13, everything centers around 13, which is a big Osiris number. The mission was Apollo 13. There are 13 letters in Apollo mission. It launched at 13 hours, 1:13 p.m. Houston time, on 4/11/70. Add those up, it equals 13. From pad 39, 3 plus 9, right? Or 13. 39 is 13 plus 13 plus 13. The explosion happened on April 13th, a moon day, Monday, shortly after the crew did a 49-minute broadcast. 4 plus 9 is 13, about how well everything was going. They signed off, and whoop, Houston, we have a problem. And the orbiter was named Odyssey. In book 13 of Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus is ushered safely home after 20 years worth of journeys. Yeah, probably all coincidence. I mean, this organization is a cult through and through. some people wonder, was NASA just created to hide God? Well, you've probably seen this meme that the word NASA, the acronym NASA is a Hebrew word that means deceive. That's actually not really true. It is partially true. It depends on, I don't know if you can see this right here, this little dot up on the top right of the shin.
Mm-hmm.
The dot is typically either over the left or the right. When it's over the right, as it is in Genesis 3:13, when the serpent beguiled, that's the word right there, it's pronounced Nasha. The shin is a sh sound. The next time it is used is when the little dot is over the left side, and that's when you say NASA or Nasa. And that's when Cain says his punishment is greater than he can bear. So I'm like, isn't it interesting the context in which both first appear? Nasha in reference to Eve being deceived by the serpent, and Nasa in reference to Cain's punishment after killing Abel, and the word means to lift up or to bear. Lifting up to deceive?
Right.
Don't be silly, you can trust us.
Wow, what a crazy world we live in. Wow.
It's so crazy that people want to put their faith and trust, especially creationists and so-called Bible believers, want to put the word of NASA over what the scriptures say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're trying to force the Bible into fitting science.
Right.
That starts with the premise that science is correct. So therefore we have to try to force all those verses that don't seem right in the Bible to somehow magically fit what science says. And
Right.
Paul warned, he said, listen, that people, he talks about avoid vain babblings and science falsely so called, which some believing have erred concerning the faith.
That's right.
So it's a pretty huge issue.
Yeah.
We